Good evening, beautiful people. I am going to not work on a symptom of relapse tonight. We'll get back in the swing of things tomorrow. I have two little topics that I want to share with you. The first one is it's Memorial Day here in the States, and I've never had this show up before today, but it showed up twice, and I thought it was worth repeating. Generally in our culture, we say Happy Memorial Day. And the point was brought up both by a beautiful story from someone in Kansas City, and then I think I saw it from a girl on TikTok that's serving. And the point was, it's a day to remember the folks who have given their lives to make it so that we can have so many of the things that we have today. And it's not really a happy occasion that we lost these lives. And there could be a better way of framing it. And I love that they both shared that thought, because it hadn't occurred to me to look at it that way. I know I think about different vets in my life, and I remember, and I acknowledge mentally and all that stuff, but I hadn't thought about how we present. So I'm going to try to do a better job of that next year, and, make it just a day of just pure gratitude, and, tell people to maybe enjoy their holiday weekend, but also, we have to keep it on the forefront that a lot of people have died for us. So that was my first point. And this isn't, I'm not trying to be morbid about it just because I didn't get to go to a barbecue today or a parade. Like, that's really what's weird. It's not going to a parade on Memorial Day. Actually, I have three things because I thought this was silly. I usually have to look up the morning's podcast to keep track of what number AM and PM I am and what episode, because the days are just kind of blending together. And it hadn't occurred to me how funny this morning's title was, given and funny, ironic, not funny, like it sucks, but the topic was, is the gambler wearing a mask? And just that question in COVID times, it hadn't even occurred to me, the silliness of it. So that's that. And then finally, the thing I want to talk about is accountability. And I guess the reason it's on my mind is, I tell you about the group that I'm in for the center. I'm also in a lot of other groups right now, and accountability is a big piece of it. So it could be my groups that I'm doing homework with, or getting coaching. Every Monday I have to, well, this week it's tomorrow because of the holiday, but I have to report in the 3 things to that group that I accomplished that week. And my Monday, Wednesday coaching, he just put on in his Facebook group that we have to identify one thing. Now, if I'm smart, I'm using that one thing that's part of the 3 things from the other group, right? We can only do so many things in a week. But also, I'm in the Cafe RE group, which surrounds the giving up alcohol. And we're in this 6-week kind of online class as well. And we were broken up into little groups on WhatsApp, and we now have some accountability there to check in the morning and at the night. And the group itself, the regular Facebook part of it, is pretty good for that. There are some really impressive people in there that volunteer their time and do a really nice job making sure that people's days sober get acknowledged. Today was one of the fellows' birthdays, so that got called out. But it's a safe place for people to go. And I read some, and don't get me wrong, this stuff happens in our gambling communities too. There's some really good Facebook groups out there. There's Bernie's problem gambling and hope. Oh, I'm messing that up. PRGM. TRGH. Oh, I'm messing that up. Sorry, Bernie. But there's Chris's group. There's a lot of gambling support groups out there. Some are very GA and some aren't. You know, there's different mixes of people, different rules in each group. And I'm sure the same is, you know, for alcohol and other ways of addiction. And really, there's just groups for all kinds of things. Accountability, whether we're losing weight or doing business or recovering. But what really struck me today was I read a post and it was in the drinking group. And to be honest, I don't know if it was in our small group or in the big Facebook group. But just the full-blown honesty and transparency that was posted, you know, someone, and it's interesting because I've seen this happen a few times. People really take us on the journey with them, you know, the situation they're in, you know, and this weekend, it could be a lot of picnicking or camping or whatever. And, you know, alcohol's such a big part of our culture, you know. They shared with us, you know, how they felt about the situation going in and then how they handled it. And then in the case that I'm thinking of, the person drank and shared with the group that he drank. And that's like, okay. It's okay. And he knows that it's a loving environment and he knows that he could use it as a tool, but he also was holding himself accountable and putting it out there and sharing it. And, you know, it's not always easy. It's really difficult sometimes to be vulnerable and honest. It'd be a whole lot easier to not have said anything really and just not checked in. And I think that maybe this is a hot topic because I got a phone call yesterday too about, you know, all that drama I told you about in our group, which I guess is still not sitting well with me, that so many people got frustrated about it. But I got a call about it from someone else that was frustrated, you know, kind of sharing their perspective on how they wanted to handle it. And they told me this story about there was someone that they hadn't been seeing in group, so they decided to reach out. And the first attempt, they didn't get an answer. And then come to find out when the person called them back, they had been gambling all along and never told anybody. And they wouldn't tell me who the person was. I still don't know, and that's okay. I miss the group. We're not quite as anonymous, you know, like we don't go gossiping or whatever, but there's HIPAA rules that the center has to follow. But as peers to peers, we generally know each other's stuff. We think of it as one big collective group instead of so much where there's attendance. But again, it doesn't really matter who did it. But could they have, if they were coming to group or, you know, a little bit more dialed in, maybe could they have been helped to avoid betting? And I wanted to call out the value to the groups. You know, I know that I'm not leading the charge on this anymore, but when I was posting the daily readings, not from the book we do in the morning, but from the One Day at a Time book, there was like an expectation. And I was accountable to the group to post that. And I've since passed the torch, and the fella doing it now is amazing. And when he doesn't post, I get nervous, you know, like he's pretty 6 o'clock in the morning. It's out there. So when he doesn't do it, I'm going to shoot him a message and be like, hey, are you okay? And we just, by being in accountability groups, it helps, I think, us individually. And I think it helps people help keep us accountable, you know, especially if we have routine things or we're always showing up a certain way. It's no different than, you know, my cycles with my brother. When he's in a good place, he's checking in and, hi sis, have a nice day, da 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 da. And when he's not in a good place, it's nothing. It's silence, no accountability, no whatever. So that's my food for thought on the end of our nice long weekend. If you're not somewhere where you can be accountable, maybe look into that. I am still working on getting ready for the 321 No Kiddin group to get a little more zesty. I've been doing so much time studying that I haven't made enough time to deliver as well as I want to show up in our Facebook group. So that will come when I know I can do a really good job at it. And right now I just have too many balls in the air to do a good job. But when we get rolling on there, that'll be an opportunity to have another different style of an accountability group. And who knows, there's accountability buddies in the alcohol one that I'm in. Maybe there's different strategies like that I play around with too and see how it can help you best. So yeah, just think about what you can do to be more accountable. Anything that keeps us away from a bet is probably a good thing, right? Okay, beautiful people. I hope you have an amazing evening.